A young Norwegian family is hiking through a misty, isolated valley outside Bergen. It's November 29th, 1970. The air is cold enough to sting their lungs. The valley is called Isdalen, Ice Valley, already rumored among locals as Death Valley because of past suicides and accidents. As they move off the main path, the father catches a strange smell, something acrid, chemical, charred. He follows it up a rocky slope, pushing through scrub and loose stones. Then he freezes. In front of him lies a body, sprawled on its back among blackened rocks. The woman is badly burned, her clothes and skin scorched, but the fire seems oddly contained. Around her, objects placed, not scattered. Bottles, jewelry, an umbrella, partly melted plastic. No sign of a campfire, no tent, no companions. He realizes with a sick twist of dread this is not an accident. This is a scene, and it makes no sense at all. The discovery in Isdalen that day would become one of Europe's strangest unsolved mysteries. The woman had no ID, no obvious home, and no one who came forward to claim her. Instead, investigators found burned clothes, erased labels, coded notes, and a trail of fake identities stretching across Europe at the height of the Cold War. In this video, we're going to walk step by step through everything we know about the so-called Isdal Woman, the discovery of her body, the disturbing forensic details, her mysterious hotel stays, the coded notebook, the spy theories, and the modern forensic work that might finally reveal who she was. If you're into deep dive, true crime, and Cold War strangeness, you're in the right place. Take a moment to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss future cases like this, and stay with me until the end, where I'll break down the leading theory that best fits all the evidence. When Bergen police first arrived at the scene in Isdalen, they expected a straightforward case, maybe a tragic hiker who'd gotten lost and tried to start a fire, but the details unraveled that assumption quickly. The woman was lying on her back, partially hidden between rocks. Her front was badly burned, but the surrounding vegetation wasn't. Nearby were several items: 2 water bottles, a single rubber boot, a watch, jewelry, and a broken umbrella. Curiously, the jewelry had been placed in a small pile, as if arranged intentionally rather than torn off by violence or fire. There were also traces of a campfire, but not the kind that would explain such extensive burns. Almost immediately, officers noticed something else. There were no obvious personal belongings that might identify her. No bag, no wallet, no papers. The entire scene felt staged, like someone had tried to erase her identity, but only halfway succeeded. From day one, this wasn't just a death. It was a puzzle. The autopsy deepened the mystery. The woman was estimated to be between 25 and 40 years old, about 164 centimeters tall, with brown eyes, dark hair, and an athletic build. Her teeth showed extensive, high-quality dental work, crowns and distinctive fillings suggesting she'd lived in a country with good dental care, possibly Central Europe. She died from a combination of carbon monoxide poisoning and extensive burns, meaning she was still alive as the fire spread. But the pathologist also found something chilling in her stomach: around 50 to 70 sleeping pills, along with alcohol. The official conclusion leaned towards suicide. Yet nothing about her condition fit a simple narrative. Her fingerprints had been filed off or worn down. Her clothes labels were meticulously removed. She wore a wig at times, and traces of soot in her lungs suggested she'd inhaled smoke. Suicide or staged suicide? Could she really have traveled so far, under multiple identities, just to die alone in a Norwegian valley? To identify her, police did the obvious. They checked missing persons, circulated sketches, and appealed to international forces. But one detail soon stood out. Her fingerprints didn't match any known records. More suspiciously, her prints were faint, as if deliberately damaged. Then, a breakthrough came from a routine check at Bergen railway station. Officers searching left luggage lockers found 2 suitcases traced to a woman matching the Isdal victim's description. Inside, the mystery deepened. The cases contained stylish but practical clothing, a prescription for cream, several pairs of glasses, wigs, a comb, and not a single label on any garment. All had been carefully cut out. There was a plastic bag from an Italian shoe shop, some currency from different countries, and an odd, coded-looking notepad. A fingerprint on a pair of sunglasses matched the body, proving the link. Someone had gone to great effort to strip this woman of a traceable identity, yet had overlooked just enough to suggest she had been very much alive, organized, and constantly on the move. The notepad found in the suitcase looked, at first glance, like random letters and numbers, but investigators soon realized it was a kind of travel code. Each line combined numbers and letters that corresponded to dates and locations, trains, hotels, and cities across Europe. By cross-referencing this with hotel records, police reconstructed part of her final year. She'd traveled widely, from Norway to Germany, Belgium, and possibly further. In each city, she checked into mid-range hotels using different names and nationalities, often claiming to be from Belgium or traveling as a saleswoman. Witnesses described her as well-dressed, somewhat aloof, and unusually cautious. She often asked to change rooms, preferred to keep her curtains closed, and spoke multiple languages: German, French, and possibly Dutch or Flemish. This wasn't casual tourism. Her movements were methodical, almost tactical. Each alias, each hotel, and each route fit into a pattern that felt less like a holiday and more like a mission of some kind. Piecing together hotel registries, investigators found at least 8 aliases linked to the Isdal Woman. Names like Fenella Lorch, Vera Schlosseneck, and Elizabeth Lienhauers appeared on forms, each with different listed nationalities: Belgian, Swiss, sometimes South African. The handwriting varied slightly, as if she was deliberately adjusting it. Hotel staff remembered a striking, somewhat exotic-looking woman, always fashionably dressed, often requesting a room with a balcony or good view, but then keeping the curtains tightly shut. She spoke quietly, rarely socialized, and sometimes seemed on edge. One waiter recalled she ordered porridge for breakfast and preferred diluted red wine in the evening. Another remembered a strong smell of garlic or spices about her belongings. None knew her real name. Curiously, she often paid in cash and sometimes used empty forms or partially filled details, which staff didn't question at the time. In the paper-thin privacy of post-war European hotels, she managed to remain a ghost. One of the most striking witnesses was a young Norwegian man who met her on a previous trip. He remembered her as elegant, dark-haired, and somewhat intense. Over dinner, she told him she was from a small town near Johannesburg. Later, when news of the Isdal death broke and a sketch was published, he became convinced it was her. He recalled that she sometimes paused as if to search for the right word, not like a regular language learner, but as if she was filtering what she could safely say. When he asked about her work, she brushed it off. "I do a bit of everything." Several hotel staff also reported that, on one occasion in Bergen, she seemed nervous, almost frightened, as if expecting someone. Another guest claimed to have seen her in conversation with a man in a military-style coat. These glimpses paint a picture of a woman who was both self-possessed and perpetually on guard, as if she were living multiple lives at once. The Cold War context turned this from a strange unidentified death into a suspected espionage case. In 1970, Norway was strategically important. It bordered the Soviet Union, hosted NATO facilities, and was near key shipping routes. Just before her death, the Isdal Woman had stayed in Bergen around the time of secret naval tests. Some witnesses later claimed they saw her watching the harbor with binoculars or taking note of ship movements. Her multiple identities, multilingual skills, and habit of cutting labels from her clothing all looked like textbook spycraft. Norwegian intelligence reportedly showed interest, but official records are murky. Some retired officers later hinted they were told to leave the case alone. Was she a Western operative monitoring Soviet activity, a Warsaw Pact spy snooping on NATO, or a courier moving information through seemingly mundane trips? Nothing definitively proves she was a spy, but the timing, locations, and elaborate efforts to hide her identity make the espionage theory hard to dismiss. Not everyone agrees on the spy angle. Some investigators believe the Isdal woman's death was a suicide, perhaps after a life of drifting across Europe under assumed names involved in clandestine but non-political work, smuggling, sex work, or high-end fraud. The sleeping pills and alcohol seem to support suicide. Her behavior, demanding privacy, using wigs, shifting identities, could reflect personal trauma, not espionage. Maybe she was fleeing an abusive past or a powerful criminal network. However, there are details that strain the suicide theory. Why choose such a remote, difficult location to kill herself, then attempt to burn her own body? How did she carry all the fuel needed? Why arrange her jewelry in a neat pile? And if she was desperate and alone, why so much effort to destroy every label, blur fingerprints, and move under so many aliases? Suicide is possible, but it doesn't fully account for the calculated erasure of her identity before death. Modern forensic science has offered new clues. In the 2010s, Norwegian journalists and researchers re-examined preserved tissue and teeth from the Isdal woman, using isotope analysis, essentially chemical fingerprints reflecting the water and food she consumed. They estimated where she likely grew up and lived. Results suggested she was probably from Central or Eastern Europe, possibly around present-day Germany, Austria, or the Czech region, with later residence shifts further west. Her high-quality dental work matched techniques common in parts of Western Europe at the time. DNA extracted from remains showed European ancestry, but no direct match in public databases. Facial reconstruction specialists built updated images of her likely appearance, more lifelike than the original 1970s sketches. These reconstructions sparked new tips from across Europe, but none have led to a confirmed identity yet. The science narrows the field, but frustratingly, it still leaves her hovering between nations, a woman shaped by Europe's shifting borders and scars. Over the decades, journalists have chased leads that read like spy novels. One theory claims she was involved in industrial espionage connected to emerging Norwegian oil exploration. Another suggests she was trafficking sensitive technology or documents between East and West. A retired Norwegian officer once hinted that foreign intelligence services quietly checked whether she was one of theirs, and all denied it. But in the world of espionage, denial means little. If an operation goes wrong, disavowal is standard. Some speculate she may have been a low-level courier or cutout, someone who never knew the full scope of the missions, just enough to move items and information. That could explain the mix of professional tactics, aliases, wigs, coded notes, with occasional sloppiness, like leaving a fingerprint on sunglasses. Alternatively, she may have been an independent operator, taking dangerous side jobs. If something went wrong, a meeting, a handoff, her death in Isdalen could have been a brutal message disguised as suicide. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of the Isdal woman case is the total absence of a grieving family. For over 50 years, no one has conclusively stepped forward to say, "That's my mother, my sister, my friend." In an era before ubiquitous digital records, it was easier to vanish, but not usually without someone noticing. It's possible her relatives were behind the Iron Curtain, cut off by politics, lacking access to Western media. Or maybe they were told she died in an accident elsewhere. In some darker scenarios, her family may have been threatened or complicit in the silence. In 2017, Norwegian police exhumed her remains to take better DNA samples, hoping that modern genealogy methods, like those used in high-profile American cold cases, might finally connect her to distant cousins. So far, no breakthrough has been public. Until that link is found, she remains a ghost, known worldwide, yet still utterly alone on paper, with only circumstantial stories to fill her life. Stepping back, what do we really have in the Isdal woman case? We know she was a well-traveled woman in her late 20s to late 30s, speaking multiple languages with expensive dental work and roots probably in Central or Eastern Europe. We know she used at least 8 aliases, cut labels from her clothes, wore wigs, and coded her travel movements. We know she died in a remote Norwegian valley after ingesting a large dose of sleeping pills and alcohol, then being exposed to fire while still alive. Her fingerprints were faint, her belongings curated and partially destroyed. Police lean towards suicide, but the staging, timing, and Cold War context strongly suggest the possibility of foul play. What we don't know is her name, her employers, if any, or what she was doing in Bergen during sensitive naval tests. The evidence points to a life lived in the shadows, shaped by a divided Europe, ending in a valley long associated with death and mystery. So where does that leave us? And what happens next? Advances in forensic genealogy, isotope analysis, and international data sharing mean that the Isdal woman's anonymity is not guaranteed forever. All it might take is one distant relative uploading DNA to a database, or one forgotten document in a European archive being digitized to finally reveal her name. If this story gripped you and you want to see how it ends, stick with this channel. I'll be following any new breakthroughs in the Isdal woman case and covering other deep, complex mysteries that deserve long-form attention. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss follow-up videos. Let me know in the comments. Do you lean toward the spy theory, a personal tragedy, or something else entirely? And if you enjoy thoughtful true crime and Cold War history, share this video with someone who'd fall down this rabbit hole with you. Somewhere, the Isdal woman had a real name. Together, we might live to hear it.